I should have stayed home. That's what Sarah said before I left, and now her words echo in my head as I stare at my leg, twisted at an angle that makes my stomach turn. The bone hasn't broken through the skin, but the pain. Fuck it! I scream into the November air, my voice carrying across the empty Wisconsin woods. The sun's already starting to set, and the temperature's dropping fast. I could see my breath now, little clouds of desperation floating away into the darkening sky. The Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest stretched endlessly around me, its ancient pines creaking in the wind. Usually these woods felt like home. I knew every trail, every ridge, every seasonal creek. But now, with the shadows growing longer and my legs screaming in pain, the familiar landscape felt alien and hostile. 22 years as a firefighter, and this is how I go out, slipping on a patch of wet leaves like some fucking rookie. The irony would be funny if I wasn't so terrified. I tried to focus, to think through the pain. The department trained us for situations like this, though usually we're the ones doing the rescuing. Stay calm, assess the situation, make a plan, and execute it. My rifle landed about 10 feet away when I fell. I could see it there, taunting me, just out of reach. My pack's closer, thank God, and I managed to drag it over without moving my leg too much. The motion still sends waves of agony shooting up my thigh. Fuck. The word feels good coming out. It's primal and raw. It helps me focus. But I need shelter before dark. I need to get a fire going. Need to figure out how to signal for help. Sarah will call someone when I don't come home tonight, but the hunting grounds are vast, and I wandered pretty far off my usual path today, following what I thought was the biggest buck I'd ever seen. It was stupid, an amateur move for someone who's been hunting these woods since he was 12. Dad used to bring me out here every season, teaching me how to track, how to move silently, how to respect the land. The woods give us life, he'd say, but they could take it just as easy. I never really understood what he meant until now. It's funny how clear things become when you're staring in the face of death. I pull out my phone. No signal, of course. These hills have always been a dead zone. I've got my emergency beacon in the truck 2 miles back. Fat lot of luck it does me there. The light's fading fast now and the wind's picking up. The temperature's probably in the low 30s already. The forecast had called for clear skies, but heavy clouds are rolling in from the north, bringing that distinctive pre-snow heaviness to the air. The wind cuts through my jacket, and the gathering clouds look almost bruised, promising a long, cold night ahead. If it starts snowing, any tracks I might leave for rescuers will be covered. The thought makes my chest tighten, and I start pulling supplies from my pack. Emergency blanket, first aid kit, fire starter, paracord. At least I came prepared. And that's when I hear it. Strange, muffled sound off in the distance somewhere. In these woods, you get to know the natural rhythm of things. The wind in the trees, the crunching of leaves, the occasional snap of a twig from a deer or a raccoon, the little fluttering of a squirrel running up a tree or across dry leaves. But this is different. It's like dragging. It's heavy, and it's getting closer. My hands shake as I reach for the hunting knife on my belt. The sound stops. The woods go quiet. The unnatural silence that makes every hair on your neck stand up. No birds, no squirrels, nothing around me. I've been hunting in these woods for a long time. I've seen bears, I've seen wolves, even a couple of mountain lions, but this feels different. The silence stretches out, broken only by my ragged breathing. Then the smell hits me, like wet fur and rotting meat. My stomach clenches. The smell reminds me of something I encountered once during a hazmat call at the fire station. The same synthetic edge that doesn't belong in nature, and my nose burns just breathing it in. I need to get that fire started, now. With trembling hands, I pull out my fire starter and some tinder from my backpack. The dragging sound comes again, closer this time, off to my right. I force myself to focus on the task at hand: shelter, fire, survival. 20 years ago, I was a different man. Fresh out of high school, I enlisted in the Marines. 4 years of service, including a tour in Afghanistan. It taught me a lot about staying alive in bad situations. After that, the fire department seemed like a natural fit. More chances to help people and to make a difference. The tinder catches. I add small twigs, then larger ones. The flames grow, pushing back the darkness that's creeping in around me. Sarah used to say that she hates when I go hunting alone. "You're not as young as you used to be, Jack," she said just this morning. "Take Mike with you." But Mike, my usual hunting partner, was home with the flu, and I'd been looking forward to this trip for months. The first weekend of deer season is sacred in Wisconsin. The fire is good and hot now. I use my knife to cut some branches from a close pine, dragging them over to make a crude shelter. It's awkward work having to stay in one place, but I managed to create a half-assed lean-to that will block some wind and reflect some heat of the fire. And then the dragging sound comes again, this time from behind me. "Who's there?" I call out, trying to keep my voice steady. No response, just another stretch of that horrible silence. Pull the emergency blanket around my shoulders, checking my watch. 5:47 p.m., at least another 12 hours until dawn. The pain in my leg has settled into a constant throb, and I know I'll need to try to set it, or at least stabilize it better than it is. The first aid kit has an elastic bandage and some basic splint materials. I've set broken bones before, in the field during my Marine days and later as a firefighter, but doing it to yourself, that's a different story. I bit down on a piece of pine wood, and I began. Motherfucker! The scream tears from my throat as I manipulate the bone back into place. The world goes gray around the edges of my eyesight, and I taste bile in the back of my throat. But I manage to get the splint into place, wrapping it tight with the bandage. And just about then, the growl started. It's low, almost subsonic, more felt than heard. Nothing in these woods makes a sound like that, though. Nothing I've ever heard makes a sound like that. My knife feels inadequate in my hand, but it's all I got. My rifle may as well be on the moon for all the good it's doing me. And the smell is getting stronger now, that wet fur and decay stench that makes my eyes water. Something moves in the darkness beyond the firelight. Something pretty damn big. I add more wood to the fire, building it higher. The flames cast dancing shadows on the trees around me, making shapes that seem to move and twist. My mind drifts back to Sarah again. We met 12 years ago, when she came into the firehouse to file a report about a gas leak in her apartment building. I was the one who took her statement, and something just clicked. 3 months later, we were married at the courthouse with Mike as my best man. She's probably worried sick by now. It's fully dark, and I always call when I'm heading back to the truck, but the phone in my pocket might as well be a paperweight out here. Another growl, closer this time. I could hear breathing now, heavy and wet, and whatever it is, it's circling the fire. "Come on, then," I shout, the fear and pain making me reckless. "Show yourself." The breathing stops. The silence returns, broken only by the crackling of my fire. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the movement in my peripheral vision, something that seems to flow rather than walk, like oil sliding across water. But when I turn my head, it's gone. The minutes stretch into hours, and I keep the fire fed, my eyes scanning the darkness. Occasionally I hear movements in the woods around me, that dragging sound, the breathing. Once what sounds like claws scraping on bark, but whatever it is, it stays just beyond the light, watching. I tried to think about what it could be. A bear would have shown itself by now, drawn by curiosity or driven away by the fire. Wolves hunt in packs, and they don't behave like this. Mountain lions are ambush predators. They either attack or they don't. My watch is showing 11:23 when I hear the scream. It starts as something human, then twists into something else, something that makes my brain try to slide sideways out of my skull. It's close, and I slash wildly with my knife at the darkness, but nothing's there. The fire is starting to die down. I need more wood, but the thought of reaching into that darkness makes my chest tight. The thing out here, whatever it is, that's what it wants. It wants me to move away from the fire, to reach out into its domain. I think about Sarah once again, about the argument we had this morning. "You're too old to be playing Mountain Man anymore," she said. "You've got nothing left to prove, Jack." But that's not why I came out here. I came out because in these woods I know who I am, or at least I thought I did. Now with that thing out there in the darkness, broken leg, dying fire, I'm not so sure anymore. The pain in my leg has become a constant companion, throbbing in time with my heartbeat. I do have some ibuprofen in my pack, but it barely takes the edge off. The cold isn't helping either. The temperature has dropped below freezing, and even with the fire and emergency blanket, I'm shivering. And then something moves in the darkness to my left. I spin, knife ready, but again there's nothing there. It's just shadows and trees, and that strange smell. "What the fuck are you?" I whispered. The answer comes as another scream, this one further away but no less terrifying. It sounds like it's coming from the direction of my truck. Is it warning others away? Or perhaps it's just toying with me. I check my watch again, 1:47 a.m. The fire needs feeding. There is a pile of wood within arm's reach, but it won't last until dawn. I'm going to have to move, to reach out into the darkness, and the thought makes my mouth go dry. I grab a small burning branch from the fire, holding it out like a torch. The extra light doesn't help much. It just makes the shadows dance more wildly, playing tricks with my eyes. And then the dragging sound comes again, right at the edge of the firelight. I swing the torch towards it, and just for a second, I see something. A shape that my brain refuses to process. But then it's gone, leaving only the afterimage of something dark burning behind my eyes. My hands are shaking as I add more wood to the fire, and my leg is absolutely killing me from moving around a bit. And the thing in the darkness makes another sound, taunting me. It's playing with me like a cat with a mouse. The hours crawl by. Occasionally I doze off despite my best efforts, jerking awake at every sound from the darkness. And each time I open my eyes, I expect to see it standing over me. But there's only the fire and the shadows and that endless watching presence. Dawn comes slowly at first, the eastern sky lightening ever so slow. Then as actual colors seeping back into the world, and as the light grows stronger, the presence in the darkness recedes. The dragging sound moves further away, the breathing fades, and finally, even that horrible smell dissipates. By the time the sun breaks over the trees, I'm alone. My leg is swollen and hot to the touch, and I know I need medical attention soon. But I'm alive and I made it through the night. I hear yelling in the distance. Search parties, maybe. Maybe that creature. Although Sarah would have called for help when I didn't come home or answer my phone. "Over here," I shout, my voice is hoarse. "I'm over here." The voices get closer. I could hear dogs barking, the crunch of boots on leaves. Mike's voice rises above the others. "Jack? Jack! Can you hear me?" "Here. I'm here." They find me a few minutes later. Mike, the 2 sheriff's deputies, and a search and rescue team. They're full of questions about what happened and why I didn't stick to my usual hunting grounds, about the strange tracks they found around my truck. I don't tell them about the thing in the darkness, about the screams or the smell or the shape that I think I saw. They might not have believed me anyway. As they load me onto a stretcher, Mike leans down close. "You alright, brother? Christ, you look like you've seen a damn ghost." I manage a weak smile. "Just a rough night, that's all." But as they carry me out of the woods, I can't shake the feeling that something is watching us go. And I know, with a certainty that chills me more than the cold ever could, that I'll never set foot in these woods again. Sarah's waiting at the hospital when they bring me in. She doesn't say, "I told you so," just holds my hand while they set my leg properly and pump me full of fluids. Later, when we're alone, she asks me what really happened out there. And I think, just for a second, about telling her everything. About the presence in the darkness, about the sounds and the smell, and the absolute terror. But in the harsh fluorescent light of the hospital room, it all seems impossible, like a nightmare that's already fading. "I got careless," I say instead. "Slipped and fell. Just lucky the search party found me before things got even worse." But she knows I'm not telling her everything. After 12 years of marriage, she could read me like a book. But she doesn't push the issue. That night, as I drift off under the influence of painkillers, I can almost hear it again, that growl and that screaming. Just for a moment, just on the edge of sleep. But I know it's still out there, waiting in the darkness of those woods, waiting for the next hunter who strays too far from the path, who thinks they know the woods better than they actually do. It's out there waiting to play its little cat and mouse game again.